Hello, and welcome to Unlearning Scarcity, how to break free from scarcity mindset to change your relationship with money. I'm really excited that you're here. I'm excited to talk to you about scarcity, about what it really is and what it is not, and how to work with it. I know that some of you are new to the community, so I want to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about the way that I see money. So, in my previous career, which was a lifetime ago, I was a CFO. I worked with entrepreneurs and creatives, bringing some left brain balance to their right brain processing. I noticed through the years that the numbers weren't really the thing that would make or break a company. I could create projections and plans all day long, but in the end, we show up as ourselves. And if we have a wacky relationship with money in our personal lives, it's going to play out in our businesses. So I was walking one day thinking about a client who couldn't get out of their own way when it came to money. And I had an aha moment, and I invented financial therapy. I thought, I thought we need a place for people to talk about how they feel about money, not just what they're going to do with their money. So I looked it up later, and I, in fact, did not invent financial therapy. But I went back to graduate school to study financial psychology, and I'm now one semester away from finishing my doctoral coursework in debt psychology. I'm a certified financial therapist, and I work with clients one on one and in groups and through programs to understand what's really at the root of their pain with money. So if you've worked with me, you have heard me say this probably multiple times. We address feelings first and numbers second. I have many clients who come to me to work through pain, stress, anxiety, trauma, or fear about money, even though they don't have a numbers problem on paper. I have clients who make major changes in their finances, but again, nothing changes. I had a client say to me recently that they felt this way when they were poor, and they feel this way now that they're not poor. Yes, there are some numbers that are important, like emergency savings, access to cash, retirement. But having those things does not mean that you suddenly will feel differently about money. And often, when you understand and heal your relationship with money, the numbers naturally correct themselves. So hold that thought through this conversation. Feelings first and numbers second. Also, if you've worked with me or followed me on Instagram or on my email list, you have also heard me say that there are three pieces of the financial health pie, and that is life math, basic financial literacy, and emotional honesty. So you can all do life math, regardless of what your math teachers told you. I'm confident that every one of you has the math foundation that you need to have a healthy financial life. Basic financial literacy is something that everyone should be learning in high school and college, though many of us didn't. It's not complicated finance bro stuff. You don't need a finance degree to have a healthy relationship with money. There are just a few simple concepts that you need to understand. I have a free 14-day program called 14 Days of Financial Literacy that you can sign up for if you need a little boost in this area. Drop your email in the comments and I'll add you to it. So you just get one email a day with one financial concept that that you can learn, and through the end of 14 days you've got all the base information that you need to have a healthy relationship with money. But the last thing is emotional honesty, and this is the lens of my work. The first and second pieces are easy. Number three is where most of us really get stuck. I'm really proud of this image that I created to show how I work with money. So the actual numbers and the behaviors are just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like that's what's up top, the actual numbers. And this is what gets all of the attention, right? We look at money as though it is a non-ensouled thing, right? So my work is in the lower layers and the numbers that we all see. So we're looking at below the numbers and the behaviors, we're looking at feelings and emotions about money. Under that, we're looking at your family of origin. We're looking at your childhood experiences. Below that is societal stuff. We're looking at cultural implications and beliefs and wounds and socialization, how you were taught to be with money by society as a whole. And then this baseline, which is the deepest stuff and the most interesting to get to, is ancestral stuff, epigenetic trauma, inherited beliefs, wounds, and patterns. So this stuff is unconscious on the bottom, and it affects every layer above it. So instead of attacking the numbers and trying to fix the numbers, we're going deep into understand the roots of all of this stuff. And then as that is unearthed, it trickles up, and the actual numbers often just correct themselves. Okay, so why we're all here. Let's talk about scarcity. Well, first, let's talk about what scarcity is not. Scarcity cannot be found in the numbers. It's not being broke or not having any savings or living paycheck to paycheck or under earning or having debt. These numbers may be an outcome of a scarcity mindset, but people with wealth suffer from scarcity mindset as well. Scarcity isn't the numbers. It isn't a thing. It's a sense of the world. It's how you feel. It's the lens through which you experience the world. You may not even notice scarcity when it's clouding your mind. You may not notice scarcity just like a fish doesn't notice water. It's ever present. Just like scarcity isn't about the numbers, lack of scarcity doesn't present itself as wealth or cash on hand or high profits or riches. You can't find scarcity in the numbers. You can't find a lack of scarcity in the numbers. I'll say this again and again. Your numbers can look perfect and you can still suffer from scarcity. You will frequently hear that the opposite of scarcity is abundance. I hear clients tell a story and say, but that's scarcity mindset, and I'm trying to be an abundance mindset. And I have beef with abundance, and I want to talk about why. So let's talk about what abundance is. Here are some definitions I pulled for abundance. Number one, a very large quantity of something. Number two, affluence or wealth. Number three, a relative degree of plentifulness. Number four, a situation in which there is more than enough of something. I wonder if you're already hearing my issue here. Abundance is about having more. But we know, I see it every day, that more does not lessen suffering. Say it with me now. Changing the numbers doesn't change how you feel. Often when people say abundance mindset, they are meaning the idea that there's an abundance of resources and opportunities available. And that's a fine way to see the world. That's a great way to see the world. But I see the idea of abundance mindset misused all the time. I find that it's often used as an excuse to ignore uncomfortable truths. And let me give you an example. This can look like someone spending money on something they absolutely can't afford, or spending their money on something that's getting in the way of them meeting their needs, right? With the idea that denying yourself is in the energy of scarcity, but buying the things that you want is in the energy of abundance. And law of attraction says that you get back what you put in. Yes, sometimes denying yourself can come from a place of scarcity, but you have to have a much deeper knowing of yourself before you can know if you're using it as an excuse. The unconscious meaning of abundance, and this is really the crux of the issue, right? There's this idea that abundance means abundance of opportunity, right? But the unconscious meaning of abundance is that more is good and that less is bad. That the more you make, you'll feel better. The more you earn, you'll feel better. The more savings you have, you'll feel better, right? More will make you feel better. But this is not true. So let's talk about how scarcity really feels. Remember, scarcity is a sense, and that deep sense can feel like fear of everything falling apart, not being taken care of, no place for you at the table, hopelessness. Everything is your responsibility. That's me. If you stop, you suffer. Comparison shame. No possibility of change. These feelings may manifest in problematic behaviors or problematic numbers, but they may not. Because again, the numbers don't represent how we're feeling on the inside. Anytime we're looking at how we're feeling, we want to move deeper to find the roots of the feeling, right? So for scarcity, it could be many things. These are just a few. We're looking at childhood loss. This could be death, loss of a parent through divorce, or any ACEs, if you're familiar with that term, adverse childhood experiences. None of these things have to have a financial element. These are childhood experiences that told your sweet little self that nothing is safe from loss. In addition to childhood loss, there could be generational and ancestral wounds. These are inherited traumas, wounds, or belief systems. Think about the children who are raised by parents who lost everything in the Great Depression. They may not have experienced it directly, but they were baked in it and it became a part of their DNA as well. An ancestral loss example would be for Native Americans whose ancestors lost their land and were exiled to reservations, or for descendants of slaves. Ancestral wisdom tells us that the wounds of our ancestors are passed down 7 generations. So when a client tells me that they don't understand why they feel the way that they feel about the world, like they can't find a conscious experience that would result in the way that they experience the world, we look further back. Emotional abandonment is another experience that changes the way we see the world and the way we relate to money, even when it's not directly financial. When the people who we need love and the people that we rely on withhold or are unable to offer emotional intimacy and care, we learn to not need, or that we're not worthy, or that everything has limitation. Societal limitations are systemically or systematically imposed, and these can be cultural or organizational or even legal. So this could look like gender limitations for a particular culture, like growing up in a culture where it's the norm for women to not work outside the home. Or it could be laws that prevent a particular race from owning property or holding certain jobs. When you grow up in a world that has set limits for you, the energy of limitation, scarcity, right, becomes a way that you see the world. Another is financial trauma, which can certainly be internalized as scarcity. Financial trauma can come from bankruptcy, foreclosures, failure of a business, change in socioeconomic status from a divorce, employment instability, right? Like anything's directly related to money, really painful experiences that were so big that it changed the way that you see possibility with money. When you have suffered such painful loss or trauma or abandonment, your sweet little self learns how to protect you from feeling it again. So this can look like hypervigilance or dread or avoidance. Scarcity, seeing all that can go wrong, all that is impossible, is a form of self-protection. The thing about self-protection tools is that they often cause more harm than good. But instead of feeling shame over how we experience the world, we have an opportunity here to be grateful for the ways that little us has tried to keep us safe, right? If you step outside and you look at all of these experiences and these belief systems and this energy as little you trying to keep you safe in the world, you can have so much more compassion. If I'm working with you as a client and we're digging into this material, I would be curious for you to dig deep into the ways that you, number one, are looking for proof of scarcity. So this is the way that you see the world. Every time something is hard or doesn't go the way you want, every failure or disappointment is proof that your scarcity mindset is correct, right? So we're looking at the ways that you are scouting out and self-fulfilling prophecy around scarcity, right? But number two, we're going to look for the ways that you're causing it. How are you unconsciously playing out a scarcity story? Here's where little us that's driving the car is so brilliant. When you're carrying deep, unhealed hurt, you're unconsciously going to protect yourself from that happening again. But the thing is, we're out of control in this world, and the fear of the unknown can be too much. So sometimes it feels like a relief to get the pain over with, because then you don't have to wait and dread. You don't have to suffer disappointment over dashed hopes. You don't have to stretch yourself into what could be so good that the pain of losing it would be unimaginable, unbearable, right? We're working towards opening up to the potential of all that could be, including facing the possibility of loss, right? Because the better things are, the more the loss could hurt. What we're working towards, the opposite of scarcity, is actually expansiveness. So instead of the energy of abundance or more, we're opening up to the spirit of all that could be. Expansiveness is the energy of possibility and hope. You can see how this could feel terrifying for someone whose life experiences tell them that good things don't last. Expansiveness feels like looking at your life through the lens of possibility. Noticing the areas where you say, nothing will ever change. Having a reality check on your numbers with an openness to real transformation instead of looking at your reality through a lens of shame or failure, or a sense that the chains have fallen off and you have agency in your life again. Some of these things are small, nuanced ways of seeing the world, simply noticing the ways in which you have limited yourself and others. Some take conscious effort and accountability to begin to trust the world and yourself. The next logical question is, how do I get there? How do I heal scarcity and transform into expansiveness? We start with small shifts. If you have found safety in scarcity, that's probably always going to be a part of your story. It's something that you'll notice creeping up when you're exhausted or not caring for yourself, or when something in life goes haywire, or when you experience loss. The goal isn't to stop ever feeling scarcity and fly off into the expansive sunset. We don't do that kind of Pollyanna thinking in my world. What we can do is add more tools to your toolbox so that we have more to lean on than just scarcity when we need some help. So I'm going to offer you 4 small shifts that you can play with to begin developing a relationship with expansiveness. The first is in your body. We're going to physically play with expansion. Our bodies know what's up long before we can consciously explain something that we're feeling. Our bodies send signals that tell us that we're in danger, right? This is central nervous system regulation stuff. When our bodies experience expansiveness, it begins to rewire our brains, okay? So for this exercise, we're going to practice expansion in your body. So first, I want you to take a couple deep breaths, just as you naturally would. You may notice, I notice that when I just take a deep breath without thinking about where it is in my body, I feel my shoulders rise and fall, right? I'm breathing all up in here. So notice how your body expands when you breathe deeply. Now with your next breath, I want you to notice how wide can your ribs expand from side to side. And then with your next breath, how much can your ribs expand from front to back? What does it feel like to breathe all the way into the back of your ribs? And then with your next breath, can you breathe all the way down into the very bottom of your pelvic floor, right? So we've gone side to side, front to back. Can you go deep, deep and low? And then with your next breath, can you expand your entire torso? Can you go side to side, front to back, and deep? And then incorporating the breathing, let's see how high you can extend your arms up into the air. And how far can you expand from side to side? Let's just play with expansion. So you can play with this, right? Like this is the practice of embodying expansion. And when our bodies can feel expansion, when it becomes real to our brains will begin to adapt. So keep playing with this. We're going side to side, front to back, top to bottom, and then with your limbs. How big can you go? Next is working with our minds. So I want you to begin to notice when your mind is stuck in scarcity. And as a practice, I want you to notice in the moment. That is a practice in and of itself. But as a practice to play with this, I want you to either in the moment take a pause or bring up a situation, meditate on a situation where scarcity is always at play for you. Like you may have a situation when you're looking at money or in a particular relationship or in a particular social setting where you just always feel like you're tapped into that energy of scarcity. So notice the thoughts of impossibility. Notice where you're using the words always and never, right? Like these words have an end. There is no possibility if it is always or if it is never. There's no space for expansion when we don't believe in the possibility of change. So replay your stories using softer words. retell a conversation, rethink through something that's stuck on loop in your head, and see if instead of using the words always and never, you can use the word sometimes or it's possible, right? Like we're looking for softer language here outside of the concrete language of always and never. Always and never is scarcity, right? Also, we're looking at shifts from there is no solution, right? How can that become I feel stuck or overwhelmed or afraid? What is more true than there is no solution? There is no possibility. Practice changing your language to be open to possibility. Notice how uncomfortable or relieved you feel, right? You may get in this and it may make you want to run out of the room. You may be so uncomfortable with the idea that something else is possible, right? So just keep practicing with this, keep playing with it, and see what shifts for you. And then we'll work on feelings. So this can be used as journal prompts. As you work with expansiveness, keep coming back to this to see what changes, right? You can even come back to the same thing over and over again. I want you to think through these prompts. When do you feel free? When do you feel hope? When do you feel possibility? Are there people or places or experiences where you feel the most expansion? When have you seen real change? Notice what or who you hear getting in the way of the feeling of expansiveness. For me, I have two absolute musts for my mental health, and they are walking and being in nature. When I am running myself ragged, which is my scarcity story is I have to do it all and I can't rely on anyone for help. It is me and only me. So I have a pattern of overwhelmed thinking that I can now spot pretty quickly. I have stories that I tell myself about the world and have stories that I specifically tell myself about my husband. Anytime I notice myself saying always or never about him, and anytime I hear myself comparing our workloads, I know I'm out of whack. It's particularly out of whack because my husband happens to be potentially the hardest working person on earth. But when I get in a space where I am thinking about who did more in the day, who had more responsibility for the kids, who carries the bigger mental load, he always does this, he never does this, he always expects me to do this, right? Like I am out of whack. I know that that is not the truth, and I know that I'm stuck in my loop. So the quickest way for me to ground and bring myself out of scarcity and back into expansiveness is to walk outside. I could teach a whole separate workshop on eco psychology, but the very short of it is that our bodies are designed to be regulated by nature. We need to be in it. We need to see it. We need to smell it. We need to feel it. We need to honor it. We need to be amazed by it. We need to care for it. For you, this may look like walking in a park or tending to a garden or rocking on the front porch, right? You know intuitively where is your space where you feel like you can exhale deeper, where you can let go. So start paying attention to where you feel grounded and go there often. Go there to process, right? Go there when you're stuck in a loop, but also go there to daydream and hope. And last, we'll work with dreams. This is one of the hardest places that I see for my clients who suffer deeply from scarcity. And that is allowing themselves to dream of something more or different or better or easier, right? If this is really difficult for you, ground in your place, wherever that is, and do some embodiment work, right? Like do the breathing, feel the expansion, move however you need to move to feel for your body to feel and believe that there is space for you. And then do some journaling. Or you can draw or move your answers, right? Like you don't have to process through writing. If you process through free scribble or art, do that. If you process through movement, do that. Whatever way, whatever modality feels most connected for you. Can you begin to picture a life that is expansive? Can you daydream what it would be like to have time to explore, or to be debt-free, or to own a home, or to quit a job you hate, or to find a true partner, or to let go of the baggage that you've been dragging around, or to feel at peace? What does expansiveness feel like for you? And if this is hard, do it for a minute. And if you get mad, write it down, draw it, move it, right? But just keep coming back to this and see if you can just begin to imagine something bigger and better and freer and more open. So we've just scratched the surface of what deep financial health and healing can look like. So I want to check in on how you know if this is the work that you need to be doing. The first is if this conversation lights you up. If you have bells ringing and dots connecting, if you're saying yes, if you see yourself in every slide, this work is for you, right? Like if your body's on fire, if you're lit up, this is something you need to be doing. But also, if you want to throw your computer, if you are yelling at me, if you're screaming, what do I do? If you're saying to yourself, this is ridiculous because nothing will ever change, then this work is definitely for you. The madder I get about something, the more I know it's for me, right? In addition to my private practice, I have a program called Cycle Breakers that takes you deep into your relationship with money. My next group is starting on March 18th, and I want to invite you to join. Let me tell you a little bit about it. So Cycle Breakers is an 8-week program designed to take you deep into the roots of your relationship with money. You'll find the sticky places that keep you stuck, and these will be generational beliefs and trauma, family patterns, cultural expectations, money complexes, etc. By the end of the program, you'll have the understanding and tools you need to move forward differently, to break the intergenerational and uniquely you patterns that keep you financially sick. This is for those who have had it and are ready to break free. This is deep work. Cycle Breakers program will help you identify multi-generational beliefs and behavior patterns, identify your unique money cycles, understand your money socialization and how it has impacted your life, identify financial trauma and roots of shame, have compassion and forgiveness for your past self and the choices that you've made, heal old money wounds, disrupt unhealthy cycles, find ease, meaning, and purpose and freedom in your relationship with money, engage with and envision your future, and create rituals that support a healthy financial journey. So you can join Cycle Breakers in 2 ways. The first is the independent study track. So this way you're working your way through the curriculum over 8 weeks at your own time and pace. A new module will drop each Tuesday, and there are no live components to this model. So this is a great option if you have time or financial constraints that you need to consider. The independent study track is $197 one-time payment, and it begins on March 18th. The second track is the intensive. This is my baby. In addition to the curriculum, you're working directly with me through 6 90-minute group Zoom calls, and then also a community forum where you can be in conversation with me and also with other participants. And then there's additional coursework that comes up along the way, depending on what's alive for everyone. So I am hearing the common stories that's coming up, which is interesting because with every group, there seems to be a couple of things that's alive for the majority of you. And so as we discover that stuff, as we unearth the deep stuff that's present for this particular group of people, I'll be adding in additional materials for you to work with and play with. I love this track. In my office, I am blown away by how much similarity there is in people's stories. I constantly am listening to someone and thinking, man, I wish I could pair them up with this person to be a support person. Their stories, their experiences, their fears, their hopes are so similar, yet they feel like they're alone, right? Money is the last taboo. We are all changed for the better when we can be in community in our learning and our growing and our healing. The group work in our last Cycle Breakers cohort was deeply meaningful. Most financial wounds are relational in one way or another, and relational wounds need relational healing. We are not meant to do this work alone. So the intensive track is $997. Right now I'm offering an early bird discount of $150. So right now you can register for $847. But as a gift to you for showing up today and for doing this work, I'm offering you an additional $50 off the intensive track for the next 24 hours. This is my professional baby. It's my vocation. It's my offering to the world. So I want it's my offering to the world. My offer to you is this additional discount. So I hope that you will join me. So I'll leave this here. You can learn more about cycle breakers and register on my website, which is celiarobertshughes.com/cycle breakers. I'll include this info in an email that I'll send shortly, along with a copy of this workshop recording. And if you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email, hello@celiarobertshughes.com. You can send me a message on Instagram. My handle is _Celia Roberts Hughes. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for joining.